asleep amidst the trees. Bats all are swaying in the breeze. But one so light, anxious, wide awake, fearing all manner of ghouls, hags, and wraiths. For your dolly Polly sleep has flown, don't dare let her tremble alone. For the witcher, heartless cold, paid in coin of gold, he comes, he'll go, leave naught behind but heartache and woe. Deep, deep woe. It's all silent for the night. Hours turned in as daylight dies. But when so light, anxious, wide awake, fearing all manner of ghouls, hags, and wraiths, my dear Dolly Polly.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Haunted Connections show. I hope you're all well. So we're bringing this to you from the Haunted Antiques Paranormal Research Centre in Hinckley, Leicester, and we're sponsored by Sims Vintage Antiques in Wootton Warren near Stratford. So big welcome to everyone. Tonight, by a popular request last week, we are going to be discussing vampires. So as usual, all your thoughts, all your comments, any experiences, then put them all in the comments below, and we'll just have a good chat about it, won't we, Neil?
We will, and no doubt it'll go off tangent like we always do. Just want to say hello to everybody in the chat room. Thanks for joining us. So I don't think many people will have had experiences of vampires, but perhaps they have. So okay, we'll start with you, Jane. You go on then.
I was just gonna say, it's just, for me, vampires are just like from the old scary movies, aren't they? And they do have some history to them. You know, I think people have linked them to like Vlad the Impaler, and there was another. I mean, as where Dracula's concerned, I think there was a chap called Dracul or something that it was linked to. So, you know, for me, it's just signifies the old-fashioned black and white horror movies, you know, with Vincent Price and Peter Cushing, and you know, it just sort of symbolises that, really. And in this day and age where you've got social media, you know, you just don't really hear any shock horror stories about anybody drinking people's blood and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, I think it does stay in the fairy, you know, in the storybooks.
Yeah. Okay, let's put some comments. I actually think all these sort of stories, like the vampires and Frankenstein and werewolves, that perhaps have some basis in reality. Now, like vampires, they're sort of loosely based on Vlad the Impaler, but then they were changed and elaborated, weren't they? I think that perhaps happens with the werewolves as well. They start off in reality. Okay, let's put some comments up. Maggie says, are vampires just shapeshifters? I don't actually think they exist at all.
No, I don't think they're real, to be honest.
Okay. Anne says, how does garlic keep them away? Again, I think that's just a wives' tale. I don't think.
I think if you have enough of it, it'll keep anything away.
And Maggie says, I think they're overrated. I think there's just... Who wrote Dracula? Was it Bram Stoker?
Yeah, I think it was, wasn't it?
I think they just got the story from Vlad the Impaler. Perhaps saw his castle because it looked cool, didn't it? and started the story and it elaborated with drinking the blood and being the undead. I think Dracula was the undead. So it had its origins in reality, but then it got elaborated.
You know, I think the next step to this, isn't it, is if you're sort of looking at it sort of from that sort of level, I think the next step would be sort of cannibalism, isn't it? Because there's some tribes in like in some far off corners of the world that would eat their enemies, the cannibals. You know, they drink their blood, eat their flesh and everything, and it would be like they've consumed their soul and they take on their power and all that sort of thing. Yeah. So, you know, there are sort of perhaps people, cultures out there in the jungles and the forests that would probably do that sort of thing. You know, sort of brings up Dr. Livingstone, doesn't he, where he disappeared?
Yeah, didn't he? Whose belly did he end up in?
Yeah, so, you know, is vampirism one step, you know, is that the starting to perhaps, you know, cannibalism? Know, is it all related?
Okay. Maggie says it's folklore. And then she says, I think they are overrated. Caroline says, so true, Jane. I can't remember what bit you said.
Is that about the garlic?
Yeah. Oh yeah, probably. Yeah, I don't like dark garlic. Okay, Maggie says, I don't think they are, but can they just have been misunderstood, i.e. witch doctors that did bloodletting? Quite possibly the Bram Stoker got heard of that and his bloodletting, it's sort of elaborated the story and made it more scary, didn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Dave says there are certainly energy vampires far and wide. Also is an ailment where people have the need to drink blood. But as far as bat flying vamps, no. Yeah, I just think it's like Frankenstein and werewolves. They heard a good folklore or good thing in the past and thought, I can elaborate that and make that really scary, and they did. And like you say, Jane, at the start, the 70s vampire films are the classics, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they don't make them the same as them, do they? I mean, I don't watch horror films. Anybody that knows me knows that I don't watch horror films at all, and I've not watched any for years and years and years, since I was a teenager, really. So I've got no idea about any of the modern day horrors, but I do remember the old black and white ones, and they used to terrify me. They're about the level I can watch.
They did me. We've got Shawnee from Ireland. Thanks for tuning in.
Hello there.
Nice. I think you might be one of the first viewers from Ireland. I can't remember anyone else watching from Ireland. Okay, Wendy says, I love garlic, so I'm not only safe, but obviously not a vampire. Yeah. Okay, Rick says, Rick's obviously just got home from work. Rick says, Bram Stoker actually wrote Dracula after having a vivid nightmare about blood-sucking creatures. There you go. And Rick knows a lot about vampires, so no doubt Rick's going to come up with lots of comments.
Oh, he could have been a guest on our show tonight.
It could have been, couldn't he?
Yeah.
Maggie says, the Lost Boys scared me. That scared me as well, I must admit. That was all about vampires.
Was it? I thought she was talking about Peter Pan.
So, any comments or thoughts on vampires, please comment, because last week and this week we've sort of gone off our normal sort of topic, haven't we? You know, last week we did
Yeah.
UFOs and aliens. Now we're on to vampires, and we normally talk about ghosts. And so,
Yeah.
do you think? Now you said you don't like watching horror films. Do you think it's weird that the job you do, but you don't like horror films?
No, I don't. I've not. When I was about 16, I was probably 16. I went round a friend's house because I was training hairdressing at the time. She wanted me to perm her hair, which I did. And while I was perming her hair, it was my brother's girlfriend at the time.
Yeah.
And we went round the house, and there was my brother and a couple of his mates there. And they were watching, I think it was The Evil Dead. There was something else, and there was another one. I can't remember what they were. And I was sort of watching these things like through my fingers, and I absolutely hated it. I couldn't watch them. They were the last horror films I ever watched, and I've never watched them since. And I think because of the job we do, I'm glad I don't watch them really, because I don't want to be influenced. I don't want to be, I don't want that power of suggestion being put in my head, and I don't want to be influenced by things like The Conjuring and Valak and stuff like that. I'll look into it and research it from that sort of level, but I wouldn't watch the film.
No, but you see, because we do the paranormal properly, it isn't scary, is it?
Not the real paranormal, no.
It's not. Very rarely is it quite scary or feel unnerving at the centre. I know I don't go upstairs on my own, but that's just on my kitchen.
Yeah, but I've always said, you could stick me in the darkest room in an old house in the middle of nowhere in the middle of the night with me torch, and I'll be fine. But I couldn't watch a horror film.
No. Okay, Rick says, I would have been, but I had to finish all the work Neil left me to do at work. we did as well. We stood outside ready for the debriefing, and Rick was helping the manager, and we said, right, we're going. And we went. And Wendy says, Lost Boys, really great, but scary. Facebook user, I don't know who this is. I love the Underworld films. Maggie says, laugh out loud, Jane. Walking around Whitby, you see a few. Dave says, I never watch horror films ever, yet I will walk alone in any haunted building. I think it's to do with the fact I have no control over films. Yeah. And obviously films aren't real, are they? Caroline says, I love the Conjuring film. Nav says, hi all, Nav going this morning, have had the phone smashed. Nav is in Australia.
Oh, well, I hope you can fix it.
Yep. So, any more comments about vampires? What do you think to werewolves then, Jane?
I think in this, I don't know. I've probably got different thoughts. Obviously, I don't think that vampires exist. In human form, I don't believe that if a human, if sort of affected by this, if he went out into the moon, I don't believe he would turn into a dog or any sort of wolf or anything like that. But there are sort of historic things where people have portrayed themselves as animals and stuff like that to worship their gods and things like that.
Yeah.
So is it something on similar lines to that where the ideas have come from? Yeah. Where men have put like the animal skins over them to sort of to do rituals and things like that. Yeah. So I don't know, is it something that's come from that?
Heather says, hey both, I love a vampire. Bram Stoker's Dracula is my all-time favourite film. I do like the old, like we said, I like the old 70s film, the Hammer horror films with Peter Cushing in and the others.
Christopher Lee, wasn't it? And Vincent Price.
They're the ones. I like them. I like watching them. Nav says, nope, it's died. That's a phone. Have to wait for a new one. Got to reset everything. That's a
Oh,
shame.
pain.
She has been sending me pictures of the sun setting in Australia. They've been really nice.
Oh, lovely.
So I don't think they exist. I know there are some people that do drink blood, particularly in America, because they're a weird bunch, aren't they?
Yeah.
But they're not real vampires. You know, I don't think they are the the undead.
No. You know, hanging upside down and sunlight will
Kill them and
burn your flesh and that sort of thing. But you've had lots of spin-off movies that have been similar to that, haven't you? Things like Twilight and that have like portrayed the vampires as not being able to go out in the sunlight because their skin's all glistening and they look different.
Yeah. Okay, Wendy says it's not about a werewolf. Werewolf comes from an illness that causes incredible bodily hairness.
Oh yes, because some people have that, don't they? And they have been,
Yeah. Okay, Rick again. Rick says the first vampire-related tale started in Eastern Europe, and it was Bram Stoker that gave us the modern idea of what a vampire is and looks like, because they originated as hunched-over ghouls that took children.
Ooh.
That sounds a bit spooky. Nav says can't hear your voices properly. I don't know what's wrong. I'm guessing everyone else can hear us. Sarah says the full moon does affect people's moods.
Yes, it does.
Yeah,
and you know, the moon has a lot of power, doesn't it? It affects our tides. It affects people's moods, like she says, and you know, you're supposed to recharge your crystals, putting them out in the moon, and making moon water and all sorts of things like that. I've even seen this thing about this witch's retreat or something where they've got the baths out in the open and you can have a moon bath in the full moon.
Really?
Yeah.
Strange. Wendy's on about werewolves again. It's a hormone imbalance that makes you really hairy. And Nav says, oh, lost her. There she is. Thanks. I took up photography this year and have heaps of sunsets, and even I think my pictures are good.
Oh.
Yeah, please keep sending them to me. I like to look at the photos now. Caroline says, yes, my moods get affected by the full moon. Then Wendy says moon affects our hormones. And Rick says the full moon affects us because we are made of 70% water. Yeah, and because the moon affects the tides, doesn't it? So it does affect the water.
That gravitational pull, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay, Sarah says there's times when we know we are going to have a bad day or night at work when the moon's full. Then Caroline says yes, PCOS. Is that a hormone thing? I don't know. I've never heard of that. Nav says, pity I've lost my pictures. I had clear visuals of a wolfman in the apparition. Same you lost that one then. Here's a good one. Rick says, Neil knows how to turn yourself into a werewolf. It's in the witch's book. Yeah, the witch's book at the center.
What, the spell book?
Spell book. There's one in there. We spent the afternoon reading it. It shows you.
Oh, well, I've got that book. I'm going to have a look after the show.
And now says it's crackly. Let me know if everyone's if our voices are crackly to everybody. It sounds okay here. Wendy says, both my daughters have the syndrome, horrendous problems.
Oh,
And Caroline says, that illness, polycystic ovary syndrome, a horrible illness. Obviously, Wendy is replying to Caroline. So that'll come later. Sorry to hear that. I don't know anything about that illness, I must admit. And Nav says, a couple of months ago, I photographed a pink moon. About 2 nights ago, something showed up in my pictures as per like fangs and a wolfman.
oh. Be interesting to see those.
And then Caroline says, mine too. I think that's in reply to Wendy. So keep your comments coming, because we can't talk for an hour on vampires, because we don't know.
I think these good old films brought a lot, didn't they? As in the way of horror, and the way they were filmed as well. When you look back now, they are quite comical as such. Things like The Mummy, you know, when the old, you know, the man in the bandages and stuff walking around, and you know, I think there was like a complete era, wasn't there, where you had like werewolves and mummies and Frankenstein and Draculas, and you know, there's been a lot of Frankenstein movies, haven't they? I mean, you know, that concept, you know, we think of Frankenstein and you know, genetics and all that sort of thing, but you know, how far are we now with today's technology from actually, you know, could we actually create a person like that?
Yeah.
And as you know, as technology advances, could you actually put like, you know, chips in their brains and things like that? You know, do you think it's a scary thought? That scares me more than anything, I think.
Yeah, I would imagine in the Victorian times, especially, because they were experimenting with all sorts, weren't they? I've got no doubts they did try to bring a man back to life and actually try what Dr. Frankenstein did. I've got no doubts that actually happened. Obviously, it didn't work, because even now we can't do it. Mind you, we transplant things now, don't we?
Yeah, see, we do transplant them.
Is that like a little bit like Frankenstein?
Yeah, you know, and there's even people now that are putting their bodies, aren't they, freezing them.
Yeah.
So like in 200 years or something, that, you know, when a cure becomes available or something, they can defrost them, and or if they can actually be defrosted and then have a new life somehow through technology and stuff and microchips and everything like that, then, you know, but I think that's more macabre than horror.
Does that appeal to you, Jane?
No.
Being frozen and brought back.
I can't see it working. I really can't see it working, because the human soul, your spirit, is not going to hang around for 200 years and wait for you to come back.
Yeah. Strange. Okay. Caroline says, I love the Hammer horror films. Yeah, so do we. Dave says, I used to have violent mood swings at full moon time. Thankfully settled down as I got older. My mum and wife could both tell there was a full moon a day or two away by my change. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Nav said, it's way too distorted to hear you at the minute. We'll watch later. Okay, Nav, perhaps will be better when you watch on catch up. We are a long way away from you. Sarah said the vampires bite the victim, then the victim dies and comes back as a vampire. If I remember right, that's supernatural, I guess. Yeah, it is. And Wendy says we are doing creating artificial limbs and hearts. Yeah, they're doing that now, aren't they? Sarah says that's amazing if it works. Wendy says, not freezing me. I've got no interest in that.
No, well, we're going to stuff you and put you in the corner of the centre, aren't we?
Yeah, because I'm going to be I'll be a new exhibit when I go. I'm going to watch what you lot get up to. Rick says, in legend, Xander is known to be an original werewolf and is actually brother of Klaus, who was an original vampire. They were mortal enemies through the ages. That's why they are in most movies together. Klaus was supposed to have control of the lesser werewolves. And there you go.
See, going back to this now, when just about Klaus and the werewolves and stuff like that, you know, would those have been considered as demons back in the day? Because there are some that do look a bit like that, aren't they?
Yeah, probably.
You know, head of a dog and feet of a pig and all that sort of thing. They seem to be a bit of a mishmash.
Yeah, all weird stuff. Sarah says, yep, dodgy coming home on a full moon. Then she says, I ain't never going to the moon either. Well, don't get us on that one again, Sarah. Yeah, any more comments?
Well, the longer we leave it, the further the moon gets away. Because with the centrifugal force, it's actually spinning wider and wider, and it's actually getting further and further away from us.
Yeah. I didn't know that. Perhaps that's why the Yanks didn't go back, because it got too far.
I couldn't get enough petrol in the tank.
So we'll wait for more comments. Shall we deviate? What do we have coming up soon, Jane?
We've got another Demon Files, haven't we, coming up?
Yeah, we got another Demon Files on July the 11th, I think it was. Yeah,
and we're going to be looking at Asmo Day. I can't even say it. Asmodeus.
Asmodeus.
Or Asmodee.
Asmodeus. There he is.
So he's got the face of a man, the head of a bull.
Yeah, it looks a bit grumpy, doesn't he?
And he rides a dragon.
Oh yeah, another dragon.
Yeah.
So that is on July the 11th, if you like the Demon Files. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but Sundays was quite amazing, I thought.
Yeah, we did enjoy it.
Yeah. Let's put some more comments up. Sarah says, would you go to the moon? Would you go to the moon, Jean? No, I don't know. I don't personally. I don't see the point in going to the moon because we're messing this planet up. So let's not mess the moon up.
You know, I just think we could just do so much better here. We ought to be looking after this planet and staying here and you know, sort of making this planet as best we can for our children and our grandchildren.
Yeah, definitely. Sarah says, evening, Neil and Jane. Hi, Sarah.
Hello.
Wendy says, good. I loved Amy. Yeah, the Demon Files on Sunday was, to me, by far the best one that we've done so far. He gave us so much information, even words that I'd never heard of. They were spelling out. But it's just like a jigsaw, isn't it? These Demon Files, they give us a little bit each episode. But I get quite impatient. I want to know the answers now.
You see, talking about werewolves and things, you see, here's this one here, this demon. It's supposed to be shown as like a wolf with wings.
All right.
So are some of the, you know, some of these old pictures of these demons, are these sort of been looked at and thought of as perhaps modern day werewolves?
So what's that demon's name? It looks like a
Marchosius, I think. Marchosius. Hold on. Did you see that?
Yeah, I can't make it out, but yeah.
Marcha. March Osius.
Okay. Obviously, we
You
will do.
Explain. That's a good one.
We will do them that one week.
Yeah.
Rick says he looks like Big Dave. Dave is our manager. Yes, he does actually. Hope you're not watching. Caroline says yes. Amy was brilliant.
Yeah, we are enjoying doing these. I think it's because really that we're actually being able to see the truth behind the writings and just challenge it for ourselves and just not take people's word for it that, you know, everything's demonic and evil and everything else, because some of them we've encountered really aren't. They're not demonic or evil.
Yeah. So let's we've talked about vampires and things, and let's carry on about the Demon Files, shall we? Because it is a special series, isn't it?
It is, and we do enjoy it, and it's not to sort of challenge anybody's faith or to ridicule anybody's you know, beliefs or anything like that. It's just for ourselves that we can see exactly what the demons are all about, because for centuries we just listened to other people and we're all brainwashed into thinking that the demons are bad and everything else, and you know, without actually looking into them and looking what's behind it. So
yeah,
and we have upset a few people doing it. A few people don't agree with us. You know, a few people have said they don't want us to do it, but we're not going to stop doing that because somebody else doesn't like it.
no.
You know,
it's like I said, Jane. It's for our own personal research, really, and we just thought we'd show it live to let people who want to watch it and be there with us.
yeah.
Obviously, if you don't like what we're doing, don't watch. But okay then. Sarah says that was interesting to hear. They are not all bad. Yeah, well, we thought that for a long time, but the ones we've brought forward so far, they haven't been bad. But Amy said there are some bad ones. Sunday, didn't he?
Yeah, I suppose out of 72 or so, however many we're going to be doing, there's probably going to be one or two that aren't agreeable.
Yeah. Okay then. Rick said, isn't Lilith depicted as a vampire according to some Jewish mythology? I don't know, Rick. I
think she was, wasn't she? But, you know, she's been branded so many different things by many religions, and our experience that we had with Lilith wasn't like that at all.
No.
And women didn't get a lot of good press back in the day anyway. So I think when she turned around and told Adam to stick it, and you know, and then God came along and said, "Can you come back?" And she says, "No, you can stick it and all." I think you know, she was sort of portrayed as a bit of a bad person, really.
Yeah.
I think she got a bit of, you know,
bad press.
I don't think it's very fair. Yeah.
Caroline says, how many demons was it? 24 or 47? Never can remember. And James said,
70,
go on.
Yeah, there's 72 demons in the Lesser Key of Solomon, and they're the demons that we're focusing on because they're the ones who are sort of listed as having their sort of characteristics listed and what sort of demons they are and what sort of things you do to summon them and that sort of thing. We have done a couple of demons outside of that, like Lilith and
Beelzebub.
Yeah, Beelzebub. So we have done those. But they're the demons that we're focusing on, really, because there's writings about them, that they've got the sigils, and they're the sort of 72 demons that most people are familiar with.
Okay. This is a good question from Sarah that you can answer, Jane. Sarah says, do you think by communicating with the demons at the centre could drive away the good spirits you have there?
No. We do ask all the other spirits to stand back, and we do send them back afterwards. Since we've been doing the Demon Files, you know, the people have still had good activity there. There's still been lots of things going on. So I don't I think there's room for all the spirits, and the spirits are going to be coming in and out as they want to.
Yeah. Okay. Kathy says, when will the museum be back open? Well, it's open now on Saturdays. However, I'm actually not available to go this Saturday, and Amy, who would normally be there, she's got to isolate for 10 days. So I'm not sure. It's up to Julie if she opens this Saturday. I'm not sure yet. That's up to Julie. But it is open. So if you want to book on a Saturday, just send me a message and I'll book you on to have a look round. But we do have teams in every Friday and Saturday and most Sundays now already. Sarah says, an interesting comment again. Are you able to close the summons after you call on them?
Yeah, so we summon the demon, and then when we've finished, I then send him back.
Yeah.
To wherever he came from.
Yeah, and the way Jane summons them will never be filmed. It'll never be recorded. So this is one of the issues someone had, isn't it? That the way you summon them is going to get out to the general public, and kids will see it and start summoning demons.
Yeah.
There's only Jane that knows what she does. I've heard you do one, but I can't remember anyway because I've got a memory like a sieve.
That was the very first one, wasn't it? When it was just being in.
The very first one, when it was just me and Jane. We recorded that one, but I didn't record that section, so that will never ever be released. So how did you find out how to summon them, Jane? Just in case some people don't know.
Yeah, well, I obviously, you know, I did quite a bit of reading, various different sources, and then I went back to Spirit and asked them, and that's, you know, what I came up with is what they gave me.
Okay, good.
And it does seem to work, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because we do it, and we do get you know, we do get an entity or spirit there. Sometimes we can't always guarantee it's who we've summoned, but that's the whole idea of the experiment.
Yeah. But the interesting thing about Beelzebub, the one, not the last one, the one before, we were talking a lot of words that were foreign, weren't we?
Yeah.
Both myself and Amy when we were doing the noise reduction module.
Yeah.
So we were hearing words and repeating words that weren't English, which was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, here's an interesting one, Jane. Caroline says, is that the Zozo one? Is Zozo one of the temperature demons?
No.
No. Personally, I think Zozo's just been made up. There's no such demon, as far as I'm concerned. We've not come. Well, we've had entities spelling Zozo on the Ouija board, haven't we? But
yeah, I mean, a couple of people have referred to Zozo in a different name, and you know, and saying that he is an ancient demon sort of thing. But I would prefer to test it myself.
Yeah.
Just see. You know, it's you know, I it's one of those things, isn't it? We appreciate everybody's knowledge, and we, you know, we want to share our knowledge, and you want to understand what's going on. But until you actually do it yourself, you want to do it yourself. Because for me, everybody else's say so isn't good enough for me as such, because I want to experience it myself and I want to make up my own mind.
Yeah, and that's why we're doing it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sarah says, thanks, that's good, thank you, Jane. That's about the spirits at the centre still being okay.
Yeah.
Kathy says, thank you. Aidi's watching. Hi, Aidi. We're both fine, thanks. Jacqueline's watching. Okay, Rick says, the Demon Files are awesome to watch, and I've seen everyone so far. I'm glad you are proving the church and Hollywood wrong with the lies preaching all these years. like Neil, I believe Lucifer is actually a force for good for this world. It's also great when Amy and Ant get affected and when Baal went after Neil.
Yeah.
I think everyone enjoyed that one with Baal. So
Yeah.
do you think, I know Amy on Sunday night, one said something about writing, didn't it, and pen and paper.
Yeah.
So perhaps one day we will invite him back.
Yeah.
It's like a game show, isn't it? We're going to invite him back.
See what he could have won.
and use a writing planchette maybe, because he wanted to a pen and paper, didn't he? I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think once we've sort of been, I mean, one of the things that we're working on at the minute is also the energies, isn't it? Because each one has felt completely different when they've come through. And when we work with them in the future, it'd be nice if they come back and we recognise that same energy and we get the same information, because that will then put more meat on the bones for, for our write-ups and stuff. Because all this stuff is being written up.
Yeah, Janie's got a ongoing pad full of information that we've been getting. Dave says Zozo is just a made-up name, possibly believed to be Pazuzu. Okay. I think Zozo has just been made up by the TV shows and perhaps Hollywood, because it sounds a bit of a cool name, doesn't it? Zozo.
Yeah. I mean, every now and then these things spring up, don't they? That time when it was going all around the schools about Charlie and crossing the pencils and things like that, and you don't say these certain words 3 times in a mirror and stuff like that. And it goes around and everybody tries it. And some people will have a really weird experience and other people will have absolutely nothing at all.
Yeah. Okay. Vaughn says, I thought the one a couple of nights ago was really interesting. Loved the new talking board. Yeah, the new board. That was quite. It looks interesting as well, doesn't it? And it's the first time we've used it. Amy actually found it and she bought it, and it's cool, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think the lighting in the room at the time did the board justice as such. Well,
No.
We could see it, but when it's in a proper light, it is really quite colourful, and there's lots of sort of really good images on the board. It's a great board to work with.
Okay, Wendy says, I'd like to thank you for bringing the Demon Files to us. I've always felt they were misunderstood. Thanks, Wendy. That's what we've always thought.
Yeah.
Everything's been written down. And forget about Hollywood, because that's just made to scare people. And the word demon does scare people. But the sort of things have been written for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And where did they get that information from? And we want to challenge it. We're not, like Jane said, we're not trying to convert people or their beliefs. That's up to them. But we don't mind what people believe. If they don't believe us, that's up to them. I'm not bothered.
And we keep getting the same sort of message, don't we, from the different messages about finding the truth, and we've got to learn the truth, and we've got to find information for ourselves, and we've got to. It's all about learning the truth, and I do feel that what we are doing, we are learning the truth for ourselves, and we share that with other people. But the journey so far has been really quite enlightening.
It is, and they'll only give you so much. Each week they'll give us so much. Then they normally say learn, don't they?
Yeah.
Because I think we're not ready to learn the next bit. So the next one will tell us a bit more. So we're slowly piecing this huge jigsaw together, and I think it's fascinating. Okay, Rick says Zozo was a horror film for 2012, I think it was, completely made up by Hollywood. There you go. It just sounds like it does sound a cool name, doesn't it? Zozo.
Yeah.
If you made a film about the demon Amy, it ain't got the same ring, has it? So yes, so the next one is July the 11th. I've got some interesting experiments already planned in my head. Even Jane don't know what they are yet.
No, but that's what
they're-
makes it more fun.
They're going to be cool. And like Jane says, the lighting doesn't show that board up to true effect. Rick says Zozo is also the name of a Japanese golf tournament.
Is it? Oh, there you go.
Jacqueline says, it's all very intriguing and something no one has done before. That's good.
Yeah, that was one of the things, you know, that we wanted to bring, because it's just the information itself is just, you don't see, well, I've never seen somebody actually sit down and explain to you, say, who Beelzebub is or what Lucifer's all about. And, you know, we've seen people running around screaming and challenging demons and running away from them and saying they've got pictures of them and all this stuff. But, you know, has anybody actually sat down and tried to work with them and looked at their history?
Yeah, having said that, I have noticed another team sort of copying what we're doing, but it's not the same. I've watched the YouTube channel and you watched it, didn't you, Jane?
I did.
From what I've seen, they're doing it all wrong and they're just idiots, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, then. Caroline says, I love your laugh, Jane.
Thank you. It's the only one I've got. I'm glad you like it.
Amy says, Zozo is a fallen angel banished from heaven eons ago by God. He is rumored to have been the demon who possessed Roland Doe when the boy used a Ouija board. Zozo and the possession were written about, there's another bit, about in a book called The Exorcist under the name Pazuzu, which in turn inspired the modern version of Pazuzu, who comes from the Babylonian culture.
Well, what we might do then, as we get towards, we might actually add Zozo to our demon files and see what we can find out ourselves. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, let's ask the people watching. If you'd like us to do an episode of the Demon Files and try to summon up the demon called Zozo or Pazuzu, let us know and we will try. Jacqueline says, you're trying to bring the characters through. Yes, we are. They're not bad, are they, so far? Caroline says, oh, missed it. Caroline says, yes, that would be great. I think that would actually be interesting, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
You know, we could lay it to bed once and for all. There is no, you know, if Jane does this incantation or invocation,
evocation, I think it is.
Invocation to Zozo, and we get nothing through, we can say, in our opinions, there's no such demon. Rick says, would you consider having a guest as such, possibly joining you for Demon Files one night? I have been asked this before, Rick.
Yeah. I think what the idea of the four people doing it in the seance room, we're trying to keep everything the same as for each experiment. So I know we were in the tea room last week with Beelzebub, but we just wanted to try something different. But the idea being we're in the same room with the same people, so we've sort of got that control. So whatever energy comes through is hopefully the energy that we've summoned. We have talked about doing other sort of like off sort of shoots of the Demon Files where other people can come along, because it has generated such a lot of interest. So I think we're sort of in early stages about, and everything's got to open up yet as well, you know, after lockdown and stuff. So it will be something that we will be considering, some little sort of offshoot investigations regarding demons. But obviously we've got to be sure that the demons we're working with are not going to necessarily affect or influence anybody else, because what we don't want is any issues you know, it's something we've got to. We're still sort of treading on. You know, we're sort of walking on eggshells ourselves at the moment, because obviously we don't know what's going to happen. But hopefully we will be able to do some sessions where people can come along and work with some demons with us.
Yeah, we have talked about it, and I have had other teams actually ask the same question, Rick. So possibly going forward, once we know exactly what we're doing, and if, like Jane said, it'll be an offshoot. So perhaps people will be able to work with some demons. Wendy says, would be illuminating. Yes, please. This is about Zozo. Yeah, it should be done. Again, Zozo. Okay, Adi says, Zozo is often said to mimic the voices of the dead, who the user of the Ouija board wishes to talk to. He is a cruel, sadistic demon who likes preying on people's insecurities and fears.
Good.
He often delights in telling them they will soon die, and is often brutally
misogynistic.
Yeah, okay. I'll go with that one. He loves to pretend he is other spirits, oftentimes pretending he is 3 different spirits at once.
Cool.
Then Adi says, there's a few more yet. He can play on physics, for instance. He can play on psychics, for instance. If a psychic is adamant that there are only 2 ghosts in the building, Zozo will confuse them by claiming there are 9 ghosts instead. He will always add confusing scenarios by stating his little boy ghost and that he is afraid of a malevolent spirit haunting the place. Zozo loves watching his victims squirm with confusion, and oftentimes it takes pleasure when one gullible human believes he lies. Zozo is very sadistic and loves watching his friends fall out over his. Sounds like it could be interesting then.
Sounds like a couple of people I know.
Rick says, Pazuzu was the demon that possessed the girl in the Exorcist film.
I should look forward to working with him then.
Then Adi says he is a master deceiver, which is not surprising as the devil is claimed to be the father of all lies, and Zozo is a powerful devil in hell under Satan. We shall see.
Yep.
Rick says Pazuzu is a fictional character who is the main antagonist in the Exorcist horror novels and the film series. Created by William Peter Blatty. Blatty derived the character from Assyrian and Babylonian mythology, where the historic Pazuzu was considered the king of the demons of the wind. Then Dave says, God, way too much Zozo. I'm out. Enjoy. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what happens to that one. We're going on about Zozo, about possessed by Zozo using a Ouija board. We shall see. I'm not sure about Zozo, I must admit.
Yeah, and I'm not sure about who. I mean, this is one of the things that we're challenging. That there's a lot of things written down, and particularly by priests and the church and everything else like that. And you can quite easily write a lot of stuff down if you want to keep people in fear, and you want to write how great the priest and God is and everything else. But we will see. We will treat him the same as everybody else, and he'll get summoned, and we'll work with him and see what happens. Maybe something, maybe nothing.
Sarah says of hers, Zozo is the bad one. We shall see. I don't know. I'm at the minute. I'm just understanding that Zozo's a made up. He certainly isn't one of the 72 demons in the Lesser Book of Solomon, is he, Jane?
No, but we'll add him to the list.
But we can add him if people want us to summon Zozo. We will do. We will try our best. If nothing comes forward, we shall say, as far as we're concerned, it doesn't exist. And I think Aidy's got the dictionary open. He's coming up with lots of different information. So, yeah, well, it's nearly 10 o'clock now, actually. So we're near the end of the show, everyone. Thanks for watching. Like I say, if you want us to do Zozo, please let us know. No, he wasn't in our plans to do, I must admit. Was he, Jane?
No, but he does seem quite a popular character, and we've had a few people up at the centre say that they've had him on the Ouija board and all sorts of things like that. So I would quite like to challenge the myths and legends around Zozo. So yeah, we'll add him to the list and do him at some point.
Yeah, I don't know when, but we will do. Caroline says this has been amazing as always. Good night, Jane, Neil and Jane. I think she means good night. Thank you. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
She says good. I mean, yeah, it's been good. We've gone off track as we always do. Says thank you for this evening, both. I'm glad you've enjoyed it. Okay then, last question for tonight. Rick says, how do you both feel on possession? Because I believe that unless you're willing to be possessed, then you can't actually get possessed because of your free will.
Yeah, so if you're talking about full possession, where some entity will come over, full possession is like where they come in and completely take over your body. So you have no control over your body. You have no control what you say. You can't control your body at all. And your body is completely controlled by an entity. If you're talking about overshadowing and things like that, then yes, you know, you need to sort of basically give consent for that. But, you know, we've seen people up at the centre that have been affected, whether they've given their consent unknowingly, they have been affected quite a bit. But I've never seen a full-on possession, and I think they're very few, very far between. There's been recorded cases in history, but if you consider how many demons, there's supposed to be thousands and thousands and thousands of demons out there, and if you consider there's something like how many billions of people on the planet, and you know, if these demons were so strong, surely we'd be hearing about possessions every day. That, you know, one of these demons could quite happily possess one of these billions of people on the planet, and we just don't really hear about it. They're very, very few and far between, and I think possession is questionable.
Yeah, I think you need to research the mind, the state of mind of the person who is possessed, because the mind is very powerful, and with your mind you can do almost anything, like talking different languages. It doesn't mean to say it's a demon to me. I think it's something wrong. I think possession is something wrong with the people's mind, or like Rick just says, it's made up from the church. I think it's made up by the church for fear mongering of the masses. Yeah, that's the church controls. You control the masses, but through fear. That's the easiest way. And if you mention possession of demons, you've got control of the masses, haven't you?
Yeah.
Me personally.
And you know, if you think about the Bibles, all the Bibles that have been written have been translated and written by men. You know, people say, "Oh, it's the word of God," but it's not actually the word of God, is it? It's you know, there's these old Dead Sea Scrolls and things like that that have been translated and written by men, and then they've been translated and rewritten and rewritten and rewritten over the centuries. And what we're getting is probably not the true story what was written at all.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Adi says the only person I'm scared of is my ex. So that's the final comment. We just want to say thanks to everyone for watching. It's been interesting again. I do like talking about the Demon Files, I must admit, because they are special.
Yeah, they are. They're good.
The next one's July the 11th, Sunday, July the 11th, with some really good experiments, and we will be using the new board again.
Cool.
liked it, and we need to work on that
Yeah.
and build the energy up on that. So we're going to say goodnight.
Can I just say one more thing?
Yeah.
If possible, get the app, because you'll always then get the app, because then you'll never miss one.
Yeah, we'll just add. I've already closed the HAPRC community page, so that's the start of us coming off Facebook. The end of the year, I'm coming off Facebook totally. So the only way to keep up to date with what we're doing is via the app, which is available on iOS and Android. It's only $3.99, and you'll get notifications. Unlike Facebook, even Jane doesn't get the notifications of what we do.
No.
So with the app, you will get the notification. As long as you turn the notifications on, you will get notified of everything we do. Or the website will be improved. I'm going to get my improving that. So yeah, so that's it. So download the app. So we're going to say goodnight, and we'll see you next year. Or let us know what you want us to talk about next week. Otherwise, we'll just ramble on about the Demon Files.
So bye for now.
Bye, everybody.